Welcome everybody on a Friday night, coming to you live from northern Michigan, where it is extremely warm. Already got people coming in. That's nice to see. Always appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out with me on a Friday night. People like Amy is here. Hi, Amy. Curtis is here. Curtis, how we doing? Lenny, always good to see you too, my friend. Cannot wait to see some of you guys who are going to the Salt Fork campout in October. It'll be my first major campout since I was 8, maybe 9, but anyway, many years. Joey Alaya. Hope everybody's doing good. Just thought we'd have kind of a little fun tonight with this one because, as we know, that you know, Bigfoot is still a very niche topic, and the fact that it's just now becoming to become acceptable to be okay with talking about it um, is it's cool that we can talk about it now. We have forums, we have new technology, we have all the proof. I don't say all the proof, but we all believe what we're going to believe. Things like Patterson Gimlin footage have been nothing but proven better over the course of time. Uh, that's kind of the gold standard now, and always has been. But the fact that technology just keeps proving that the film is authentic. The fact that when they use all the stabilization and enhancements and everything else, it's still a film that keeps giving up information. So the fact that through most of Bob Gimlin's, Roger Patterson never got that satisfaction, unfortunately, for getting good credit, we'll say, for it being authentic. When he passed, there was still a whole bunch of people doubting what was going on. And the fact that, Bob Gillam was getting so much grief that it was affecting his wife, it was affecting his personal life and jobs and things like that. And he even at one point kind of wished he hadn't seen the darn thing, as he said. And it took, I think it was, I don't know what the difference was in between interviews, but at one point he quit doing anything Bigfoot, went into hiding with it, and it took Autumn Williams to recognize the fact that he I shouldn't say recognize. It took Autumn Williams to convince him to come out and tell his story again. And the only reason why he did that was because he trusted Autumn Williams. And that was, kind of when the shows were taking off back in the 2000s, and it had been 37 years since that film had been taken. But during the course of that time, hi, Linda. During the course of that time, things were pretty sketchy as far as talking about Bigfoot. It was more things to be made fun of, things to be ridiculed about, things make jokes about. And tonight I thought I would take a little time travel back as much as we can and talk about, some of these. Remember when Bigfoot was only talked about in the tabloids? For those of you who remember what a newspaper is, we had the National Enquirer, the Star, the World News, and things like that. But it makes you wonder, maybe, if any of that was true, or was it all just sensationalism? So I've been digging around. It's hard to find the actual articles. Um, believe it or not, a lot of people are selling these Enquirer and News and things like that on eBay. something you paid 40 cents for back in the 90's and 2000s is going for $12 now if you care to pick up a copy of the Inquirer with Bigfoot. But I was able to capture some covers and stuff, and thought maybe we'll just take a little track and enjoy some of these gems, because let's face it, there was truth back then. I know the Patterson Gimlin film made it, and Amy, same with aliens. I think a little truth thrown in with sensational lies. Yeah, exactly. If they wanted to cover a topic, then if they had a legit story, then they probably ran with it. If they didn't have one, then they had a little fun with it and make a little stuff up. One thing I learned while deep diving this was the National Enquirer was actually supposed to be the serious newspaper, and the World News was or the National Star, excuse me, was supposed to be a lighter side of the National Enquirer, if you can believe that. But looking through some of these photos, it's definitely in the headlines, it's definitely see where some of these were on the lighter side. That is for sure. And so I thought I'd take a dip back, and in the comments, if anybody has uh questions and things as we go, let me know. Or if you remember certain stories that uh really stuck with you, there's even some current ones that are making the rounds on Facebook that we'll save those till the end, because they're some of my favorite. They've had a lot of time to work on these things. But I was able to find a couple articles, so it won't be a long show, but it should definitely be. The articles are quite entertaining, and if they are true, I pity some of these people. Here's one. We got a chilling encounter. I touched Bigfoot. Hopefully they touched them in a place where their bathing suit does not cover. But it's turned around and it's in the same national news, or weekly world news, excuse me. Yeah, Amy, as a matter of fact, they had their last picture for the last edition had Bigfoot, aliens, and several other cryptids on there as well. And a picture of riding Bigfoot's about, being world news last hurrah. So we do know that the World Weekly News is no longer with us. I don't know if the Inquirer is still around. I don't even know if any of these tabloids are still around, but just the fact that some of these headlines are funny. Michelle, how we doing? Good to see you. I mean, we got Patty Hearst tells all. How can you land a job of your dreams? New romance serial thrills to the passion of a forbidden love. Several reports that Soviets have developed an army of unaliving zombies. There's a good one for you. That even made the centerfold. Can't wait to see that one. General Patton's son saved from unaliving by ghost of his father. So we got a legitimate history making paper here. How can anybody doubt some of these? Pancho, welcome, Pancho. Here we go. Here's a pretty one. Bigfoot looks just as shocked as she does. I had Bigfoot's baby. Imagine that. How many beers did each of them have to have for that to happen? But they got, the exclusive photo too. Another weekly news. Right, Amy? Don't they both look a little surprised that they're expecting one on the way? So, but there is, the funny part is, I wish I could open these articles. I think this one was on eBay, was one of them I found. But, there is history in the Native American culture that they hand down about Bigfoot coming down and snatching up the women, and then the women reappearing like a year or two later, and then they got an abnormally large child that's, a little hairier but a whole lot stronger. And how much of this is nonsense? I mean, the picture AI's come a long way, that's for sure. You know, compared to that, you know. Here's another one. Bigfoot's making the rounds, folks. Bigfoot was a quite the ladies' man, wasn't he? Knocking people up left and right. Yeah. Daily dose. Wait, that explains why Jack is so hairy. He doesn't have the height though, so he must be one of the little people. Aren't these great though? I mean, look. Yeah, I think we can get away with saying that. Love slave. Now she's pregnant, and Bigfoot looks a little concerned with how the child support is going to work on that one. And then right at the top, that made not quite a big a headline is the alien hugs Bush at the GOP convention. So, I mean, there are some great stories. I got to pull this one up on my phone because I haven't read this yet, so we're going to get a reaction together. I did that intentionally. Oh, let's see. Got to find it before I put it up. Here we go. So we're going to read this one aloud because let's just say that, not only can the women be love slaves, but well, this poor fella. World News exclusive, folks. I was Bigfoot's love slave, a lumberjack. Story of forbidden love will amaze you, so I can't wait to read this. Lumberjack's worst nightmare, lady cat. And by looking at that photo, she'd be thick. Junk in the front and the trunk. So, a lumberjack who vanished in the woods 4 months ago has resurfaced with a bizarre explanation for his absence. 4 months? Oh, man. That poor fella. Let's see. It's hard to read. Must be Nacho Par Salvard of Ottawa, Oregon says it normally is surrounded by reporters. Oh, I skipped part. Sorry. So 4 months ago, resurfaced has a bizarre explanation. He says he was kidnapped by an anonymous lady Bigfoot who kept him as her love slave. Nacho Paul Sallard of Ottawa, Oregon says he is not is now completely surrounded and traumatized by the experience. Traumatized by being a love slave? By Bigfoot. But Osterman incident didn't quite get that far, but he was gone for a few days, if you remember right. And that's one of the more credible ones. So maybe this man did have a 4 month affair with a big, hairy, thick girl. Trying to read the old article, so blurry. Not only did I have to have SE with an X with her, but made on more than I even care and do. And other work. So not only was he a love slave, he was a housekeeper. You know what? Some of this I can't even read. I can't believe they put it in the paper. was definitely humiliating and degrading. How? Yeah, I don't know about him. If you're so humiliated and degraded, why did you post it? Maybe he's humiliated and degraded because the lady got the better of him. But the lady's probably 7 foot and 500 pounds like Patty, 750 like Patty. So she would probably get the better of me too. Oh man, some of this is so hard to read. I'm sorry. I thought this was a lot clearer. So no one could be looking if a Bigfoot who's deranged and a liking for human makes you vanish like so many and no man in the Pacific Northwest. Says he is a oh man, I can't read half of it. Some of it I just can't read because of the way it's. See what happens here. No, some of it's just too blurry. But what we do know is the poor man was a love slave for 4 months to Bigfoot. So I am guessing. Yeah, I mean, it is true to talk about trauma, that's for sure. Like I said, you know what? Maybe I'm sitting here kind of being jovial, but I'm probably more jovial that it wasn't me. You know, that could be one. This could be one of those things that, unfortunately, could be true. So, like I said, how much of this is actual trash, and how much of this is, real stuff. And then we have, let's see, more of. Get rid of this. Oops. This one really caught my attention. That was for sure. You know, maybe after she had the 4 month love affair, this is the new profession. So, Bigfoot hooker. That has to be a niche uh, customer service representative there. Not sure how many people. I mean, I do like the Bigfoot, but to go that far, Amy, exactly. This can't be too old though, because Jason Momoa to donate hair to hairless. Looks like hairless vampire is what it's supposed to say. Bigfoot hooker Helen to sit down with ABC News. I missed it. If anybody saw that on ABC News, be sure to let me know and send me a link to that, please. Does it say Harry Hooker does DC to be reviewed in March 2021? Hollywood to use real monsters in new monster movies. That'll be interesting. So I didn't even know they ran that long. We're talking 2021 now. Anybody else? I didn't know they went that long. I figured they died out in the mid 2000s. Now, this title isn't too outrageous. So this is one of those that, campers and rangers witness incredible event. Bigfoot baby born in Yellowstone. Hairy baby weighs 32 pounds and is an ox. Yeah, hairy newborn weighs 32 pounds and is strong as an ox, says veterinarian. Amy used to be a staple at the checkout. Haven't seen one in years. Oh, it does say actually. Amy says actual Polaroid. She's right. Actual Polaroid of Bigfoot female minutes after she delivered her baby. Isn't that the face of a happy mom? That's more the face. That look is like, I'm going to beat your hiney for taking this picture. So what do we do, folks? Where, here's another childhood thing gone with this Hogan and Ozzy, and also in that time period we lost the Weekly News and the National Enquirer. What's the world coming to? And then this story. See if we can find it. Here we go. This is my favorite one. So yeah, it's gonna be a short show, but that's all right. Linda, the look I give. Yeah, exactly. When I'm about taking my picture. This one's my favorite. See these lovely two people? Pegs. Nice picture of Bigfoot in there. Local woman's the talk of the town after outrageous claim that she recently made. Candy Hoskins, 24 of Pegs, says that she was impregnated by Bigfoot while on a camping trip a few months ago. It's the only logical explanation, says Hoskins. My husband is sterile, so we thought we couldn't have kids. Now I'm pregnant, and the only way that could have happened if Sasquatch was the daddy. Candy's husband is fully supporting of his wife, even though her story sounds a bit far-fetched. She was on a camping trip with her girlfriends on the river a while back, says Dale Hoskins, 53 of Pegs. She said that Bigfoot snuck into her tent and had his way with her. I believe my wife. We've been married for a long time. She's never lied to me. Experts in the scientific community have been quick to voice their skepticism. Dr. Albert Furman, a renowned geneticist at the prestigious Tulsa Community College, remarked, from a biological standpoint, the likelihood of interspecies breeding is virtually non-existent. Doubter, hater. While Bigfoot sightings in Cherokee County remain an intriguing mystery, we must rely on factual evidence, not personal anecdotes. Meanwhile, Dale Hoskins says that he looks forward to confronting Bigfoot one day soon to give him a piece of his mind. I hate to say it, but Mr. Hoskins is going to get bitch slapped by Bigfoot. I've got some strong words for that Sasquatch Wednesday, and he won't like hearing what I have to say, that's for sure. This is a developing story. Look at that cute little baby bump. Amy, they look credible. Linda, the pain. Well, yeah, for both. He believes his wife, and that's what it's about. Trust. It is definitely trust is the key word here. Trust is a very key word here because, yeah, I don't know. Bigfoot must just not have. Maybe he likes tattooed people. Maybe that was the secret. Because of all the people in the tent, that was the prettiest one. Yeah, that's me. This is my favorite one. This pops up every so often, and just the fact that that guy's going to tell Bigfoot off. You know, I do remember a story in the Enquirer at one point. It was one of those times when his as Amy mentions, used to be a staple of the checkout when you actually, people actually scanned your groceries for you and you were waiting for them to do it. Picking one up, and it was another person who had been infused with Bigfoot DNA, forcefully, and was trying to figure out how to get it in court and track him down for child support. I would be very curious to see what they're going to pop Bigfoot with for child support, because I don't think he sees any of these royalties from, things like this. I don't think he sees a dime off it. All the T-shirts and stuff. Makes you wonder where that money goes. So yeah, the trips down memory lane, standing in line, waiting to pay for. Well, at that time, depending on when, you know, could very well have. Let's see if we can see the date on that. I can tell you exactly what I was buying, probably, depending on the age. It was only $2.99. May 1st, 2009. So I would have been 39. And then nope, I would have been, oh no, May 2009 was a party year. So I may very well believe that, depending on what state of mind I was in when I went in to get a little more. What was our flavor? Jaeger bombs. That was the flavor. So I may very well have believed that at a certain point in time during the night. Anybody in chat ever see some of that stuff that wants to type in? I mean, because some of these are just comical. There's a couple I don't know why they didn't upload. Like, here's one of the Bigfoot versus aliens. Can't believe that didn't upload. What this one had to. Let's see. Oops. Let us find out, because this one even has a girl turns into beach ball after she inhales helium. Sounds like that little kid from the Willy Wonka where she turned into the blueberry. Oh, that's Yellowstone. Yeah, I still believe that actually could have been legit. Because we know that, well, we don't know. We have it on good authority that they probably have, specimens, and studying them, and what better place than Yellowstone. We hear about them getting collars now, or ankle bracelets, like some kind of prisoner. So maybe back in the day when that one was taken, which would have been too blurry to tell. I can tell September, but don't know what year. That could be true. We know they have kids. I found maybe they all start as little feet and then eventually grow into the term. But the tabloids did have some true stories in it. I've got the one, I should have pulled it out. When 2007, when Hulk Hogan went on his, I shouldn't say went on his tirade, when his private conversation was released and the term racist was put into it. I've got that, and that was in the Inquirer before it really hit mainstream news, which that's why I picked it up. I thought, well, this will probably be worth some money someday, because this is utter nonsense. And then it turned out to be true. So that's what got me wondering. I wonder how many of these things, looking back, because of the fact Bigfoot was ridiculed, people about it were dismissed. Nobody wanted to come forward. Those who were brave enough, they turn around and get paid for their stories. So now you've got that problem is, did the Inquirer get their money's worth? So did people embellish it in order to sell copies of the newspaper? And the fact that people hung on to them, kind of like I did, that you can find these on eBay, to me is pretty lit. I may get on eBay and look for some of the really good ones, and then be able to do a follow up to this to and actually be able to read the articles. I mean, Sherry Radaway, some true and some not. Yeah, that's what I think. I honestly believe. And the article may be very different from the title because we're looking at sensationalism. We're trying to sell newspapers. It's no different. This is the 2000 version before YouTube hit. Here's clickbait. Cost you $2.99 to get it. National News was 40 cents at one time to get it. So it's just as much clickbait as the YouTube titles are today. Except we don't have AI generating the titles. We had human beings going, how can we sell this to people? And we need a really good title. And then maybe the article's not quite as sensationalized. I mean, that's a good title. That'll get your attention, especially if you're lonely. Even gave her a name. Cute little blonde. They're out to sell some papers. It was Sherry, right? So it makes you wonder how much was true. Bigfoot obviously was selling papers. So people were interested in it. And around that time, there wasn't that much. I mean, Autumn Williams was doing okay. Let's see when that show started. Monster Quest was kind of the big one that I remember. That was the one that kind of filled the gap before. Let's see when Monster Quest started. Monster Quest started in so October 31st. What a day to start. October 31st, 2007. So that's quite a date to start. And the first one was America's Loch Ness, I believe. Let's see how long it took them to hook on to Bigfoot. See, it only took until November 7th. So then we had the Sasquatch attack. So, I remember that one. That's probably my favorite and go back to. And because it had Dr. Meldrum and I forget who else was there. I want to say Steve Coles was there, but I don't remember. So somebody else knows, or you can go back and watch it. Monster Quest Season 1, Episode 2 is when they go to the island and they wind up. Everybody's going to find Bigfoot. This is the thing that cracks me up. And I've been guilty of it, I'll admit. You go looking for the big hairy guy. You find signs of him. It's night. You're out looking for him, and then rocks start getting thrown. And all these men who have, pew pews and everything else, what do? They finally get what they're looking for. Run into the cabin like scared little kids. Pardon me, girls. But scared little kids, and they huddle up in the center of the cabin because nobody wants to be near the outside of the windows. So imagine all these grown men are inside, and Bigfoot's they're hearing rocks on this island where there's nobody at, hitting the top of the roof, and they're even saying on the show they're pretty shook up. So, but I've been guilty of it too. Go out, you're intentionally looking for this individual, and as I'm taping a recorder to a sign that was out there on the recording, you hear crack, and I go, you hear me? Oh, F, a rock. And I got in a big hurry to hurry up and finish taping that recorder and leave. So, and there's been times where I've caught a quick glimpse, like when the one stole the pop off my Dodge truck and jumped off the bluff. I couldn't get in my truck and get that started quick enough to leave. But the ironic thing, that's what I was there to find. I found it and then ran like a chicken. So I thought it'd be fun to take a trip down memory lane tonight. And I am going to give you guys the decision making for next show. So I got two options that I'm thinking about. If you comment afterwards, even if I only get one comment, that's where I'll go. Otherwise, I'll flip the coin. I want to talk about Mount Shasta and all the crazy stuff that goes on out there. Or there was some, your stuff comes up in your feed on YouTube, and I remember I did the episode on Titanic and Edmund Fitzgerald. There's actually been a lot more research into both of those with the AI doing a scan of Titanic millimeter by millimeter, and a bunch of stuff has been discovered that kind of contradicts the story, as well as they sent more submersibles down to Edmund Fitzgerald, and they finally solved why that went down. There's no more guessing. So we can either talk about Mount Shasta, we can talk about Edmund Fitzgerald and Titanic and the new findings there, or if anybody has any suggestions, throw them in the comments. So I like deep diving things I haven't talked about. One thing I have not mentioned that I should have mentioned at the top of the show, but we'll get close to wrapping this up with Justin Decker and our thoughts and prayers. I've been staying as updated as I can on Facebook, like I'm sure most of you have. He's moving that right arm around really well now, which was affected by the stroke, and wishing him all the love and prayers for a complete and speedy recovery so that him and Jennifer can move forward together and we can get Justin back into the groove. I'll admit I did send him Justin on a show one night was talking about the fact that not all Amy, tough choice. That's good stuff on either way you want to go. So I already got Shasta done and a lot of the other one. So whatever you guys want. But back to Justin, a quick story was, Justin's very methodical in how he does things and approaches things, and will tell you that, some Bigfoot tree structures are Bigfoot, depending on the totality of the evidence, and also, but not all. And he goes very heavy on the not all. And Sherry Radway, we have a lot of BF here in Ontario, Canada. Ontario, I want to go, and British Columbia. Yeah, you guys get the really big ones up there. I hear about the 15 footers up there. So see if maybe Sherry will sound off if she's actually had an experience or not. Henry, I need to get more Bigfoot calls, noises they make. I'm not hearing too much here, just silence, no bugs, quiet. That's probably a sign that they are watching you or watching what's going on just to see what you're going to do. I'm on some property right now where I think I've heard in the 4 or 5 times I've been out there, 2 or 3 birds, but know they're watching And once I get the owner's permission, share your right away. Yes, and not so friendly. Yeah, exactly. Because up in Canada, they got bigger predators they got to compete with, so they're not going to be very nice. But I got quite a few pictures of tree structures, and also I think a face in one. Maybe at some point the owner will go, yeah, as long as you don't say where you're at, you can show some of this stuff, but not all of it. Let's just say I'm enjoying the ride right now because there's over 60 years worth of evidence in this place that I'm finding, including when last weekend, I don't know if no, I didn't do a show. So none of you heard about the fact that I went out to this new place and was on a trail that I've been on 4 or 5 times. And then I saw a tree structure. Oh, that's cool. So I kind of, got off the trail a little bit. And then I saw some imprints, some big imprints that had to be at least 18 inches. So I, wander over there a little bit. And then I see some more tree structures. So I go over there and take a look. And next thing I kind of look around and I'm like, I have no mother trucking idea where I am. I got lost. And I didn't panic because of the fact that I was lost in Bigfoot infested woods. I get obsessively high anxiety when I don't know where I'm at. That's why I don't travel a lot, because if I don't use a GPS, then I really get wigged out, or I worry about having to take a detour and then the GPS not picking it up. But I do get very, very uh, freaked out. And the fact that I got freaked out and had no idea where I was, I started walking around, and was out there quite a while until it finally hit me to use my GPS on my phone. Luckily, I had the owner's address in there. Amy, getting lost is the worst. Exactly. Especially in the woods. Yep. And what was happening was, once I looked at my GPS and my steps, I was doing kind of circles that were going in one direction. So kind of like the Olympic rings look when you see a circle, circle, circle. And that was what was happening to me. So I put in about 6 miles compared to a normal, maybe 3/4 mile hike. And definitely heard some cracking. And it wasn't just sticks underneath me, but from behind me. Again, no birds and squirrels. I got really quiet. So, needless to say, I was very relieved to see the road. And the funny thing was that I used my phone for music in my car, like most of us do. Plugged my phone in and got maybe 50 yards, and my phone died. So I was that close. I was within 10 minutes of my battery dying with me in the woods. So, a couple more comments here. Henry, I'm good in the woods. Still have GPS and compass. The phone really helps. Absolutely. The only time I got nervous was when all of a sudden it was redirecting, and then I had to move around until I got signal, so it would click redirecting. As far as I know, it was redirecting me to Harry and the Hendersons' uh, dinner spot. You know, I was more, to be totally honest, I was worried more because I know there's a family out there, and the fact that I might, and I've found little impressions, the fact that I might accidentally come upon mom and dad and baby, because that would be, you know, the end of Bigfoot's barbershop at that point, just coming across the baby. Sherry Radway, my experience was vocal. Oh, didn't. It was a woman screaming on top of her lungs like she was being attacked or unbreathing. I was hunting in the middle of 500 acres private property. Somebody knew you were there. Yikes, Sherry from Amy. Yeah, exactly. See, I think more and more people, and thank you, Sherry, for sharing that, because I know it takes a lot to come out and, put it in print. And so thank you for sharing that. Amy, yes, also screamed into a woman crying and sobbing. It was not far from me. I have goosebumps telling you. You know, you hear about that, and it makes you wonder if they do that maybe so you'll come closer so they can get a better look. You know, you hear them imitating like a baby crying or something non-threatening. So maybe they picked up on the fact maybe you're the type of person to help someone who's crying and sobbing and want to help them out. So maybe they were bringing you in for a closer look. And like you said, you're in Canada, so they got it. You know, I'm going based off Michigan Bigfoot attitude that I've encountered, which is nowhere near as aggressive as what I hear coming out of Canada. Not that I hear a bunch, but you know, some. You know, Alaska, obviously they're quite aggressive there, and being that you guys are attached to Alaska more than the continental US is, I would imagine the attitude runs similar. But you know, for tonight, thanks for hanging out with me, guys and gals. I definitely appreciate it. And you know, like I said, please like, subscribe, and also put in the comments what you want to hear about next week. So we're gonna get back on a good regular schedule. We're gonna, you know, try to keep you guys entertained and share knowledge at the same time. Obviously, I don't want to entertain you without telling you my version of things I go through, and just lay the truth out there. If you believe me, great. If you have questions about them, I'm always open to try to answer them. And if I don't know, I will tell you. I'm not going to be one of these people who feel the need to make sure people believe my experiences. I'm not going to embellish them, because you start embellishing and you get nothing but problems from there. So prayers for Justin Decker and for everyone else from coast to coast around the world, and from, you know, the bottom of my heart. Thank you, girls. Thank you, guys. And we will see you next Friday.
It's a grizzly.
Should we get out of here?
No, we're gonna watch and listen.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, shit, should we run?
No.
Action.
It's a grizzly.
Oh, shit, should we run?
Okay. It's a grizzly.
Are you sure it's not a chipmunk? Action. No, get out of here. Action.
It's a grizzly.
I'm out of here.
Huh. Maybe it is a chipmunk. It's a grizzly.
Are we gonna die?
I don't know. We're just gonna sit here and listen and watch.
Let's get out of here, maybe.
Paul!